Whether or not you believe there's a rover on Mars, or whether it's actually on Earth on a tiny little island that NASA uses as a facsimile, NASA has now admitted that there is organic life. So we are not the only planet out there with life. So that ends that. So we're not alone. Now, when the Anunnaki went there, they set up bases as an away station, and supposedly, according to the Lost Book of Enki, there was atmosphere, but it was not great atmosphere. It was very thin, which actually coincides with what I've heard from whistleblowers. And then the Anunnaki wrote down that there was water on the planet. So if there's water, there's a good chance there was plant life somewhere local to that. So that makes sense, but it means who blew up Mars, who set the nukes off if it wasn't the Anunnaki? And I'll cover that. I know I said before I was unsure on the face of Mars, but going back rereading the Lost Book of Enki, as I am, literally it does say the face on Mars. So I'd read that a long time ago. So basically, Alelulu, who was on Earth, who had a wrestling match again with King Anu, lost, bit the private parts and swallowed them of King Anu. That his punishment was to be sent to Mars on his own, because no one else at that point was on Mars, and he was to die on Mars because of the poison that was inside him after swallowing the private parts. So apparently there's some sort of issue swallowing the private parts of an Anunnaki, by the sounds of it. Now his grandson Anzu went with him and was a hero for going with him and staying on this planet Mars all alone. There was some atmosphere, and apparently there's some water there, so it wasn't a great atmosphere, and it was just barely breathable. But basically what happened was Alelulu did die, and the Anunnaki did say that next time their planet come round, they would pick him back up again, and that's called one Shah. So that instead of a year, the Anunnaki call it a Shah. So they did actually come back round the next Shah, and they found Anzu, because his helmet had a beacon on it apparently, and they asked him where Alelulu was, and they said he said he was buried in a massive rock. So they looked at the bones, they pulled out the stones where Anzu had covered up the entrance. They looked at the body, and then they covered it back up as respect, because he was technically the first king on another planet to die other than Nibiru. So they went up in their spaceships. They took Anzu back up with them, so he's not alone on the planet, although he almost died on the planet. They literally had to give him 60 something or other. The translation's not right, but maybe like a refibrillator or whatever it's called. Anyway, so they went up in their spaceships, and as a sign of respect, they used their laser beams to cut a face into the rock where Alelulu was buried underneath, or inside in the cave part, and they shaped the face to remind. Now the idea was that it was always looking back up at Nibiru, because he technically should have been a king of Nibiru at one point, and was. So that's a pretty sad story, because Alelulu was tricked and lied to by King Anu, and so unfortunately his demise was quite sad. All take a moment to pray for him. Now's a good time for me to go back and look at how the Anunnaki got here and why they came here. Now, I've been rereading the Lost Book of Enki, which is transcribed from stone tablets by Zachariah Sitchin, and I know people say that he's working for the Masons, etc., but if you watch all my videos you realise that that's not the case, or if it is the case, they've allowed him. But either way, other people can transcribe those tablets, so it's not like he's hiding them in his back pocket. So Alelulu is the guy that I mentioned a few times before, who was supposedly a king, and he took the kingship. What I didn't mention before, which I'd forgotten, was that he actually took the kingship off of the king that was there at the time by pushing him out of a window on a tower, which then made Alelulu king of Nibiru for a period, until he was banished later on by Anu. on Nibiru they had dwindling atmosphere, and it was mainly a pocket above a certain area that had the atmosphere that was dwindling, and they actually used volcanoes for the dust clouds that produced in the atmosphere to protect them. So when they were further away from the sun on their orbit, the dust clouds, or whatever you want to call them, protected them and kept them warm, but when their planet got near the sun, it actually kept them cool. So they had two choices on how to fix this. One was find gold. Now, their planet didn't have much gold at all, but they worked out that if they sprinkled gold in that particular area, it would help protect it, particle gold. And the other option would have been to set off some sort of rocket or missile or nuclear weapon inside a dead volcano to try and make it erupt again, so that they could get that atmosphere back that they used. And I'll tell you what they did in the next video.